Hello. Today we'll be opening the Arcane Maelstrom Commander deck. So let's get started. This cardboard does not have like an easy open package. I also opened the wrong side. Oh boy. It's gonna be one of those days, isn't it? Anyway, I'm very excited about this deck. This Calamax, the Stormsire, fits with my playstyle very well. Stay. We just got a bit of plastic shell there to protect everything during transport. First up, we have an oversized Calamax, the Stormsire. It's a foil, and it costs one a green, a blue, and a red. It is a 4/4 elemental dinosaur legendary creature, and it says, whenever you cast your first instant each turn, if Calamax, the Stormsire, is tapped, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Whenever you copy an instant spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Calamax. Its mood changes with the weather, and vice versa. This card is very much up my playstyle. Red and green are my favorite combination, but red, blue, and green are a close second. Because I like playing creatures, usually big creatures, sometimes not, and pumping them with instants and sorceries to smack people in the face. Oh, this is a very nice box. I actually think I might use this in the future. We got a info card probably telling you how the deck plays. Calamax, the Stormsire. Few creatures are as catastrophically destructive as Calamax, an elemental dinosaur capable of unleashing torrents of earth-shattering lightning. It wanders as it pleases, throwing out enough chaotic energy to power a city or demolish one. It's capable of leveling mountains, and whole horizon lines are changed in the wake of its passage. We'll get to these guys later. Okay. Here's the bit that tells you how to play this specific deck. Arcane Maelstrom. Primary commander, Calamax. Playing the deck. Arcane Maelstrom is all about casting and copying larger and larger instant spells. The deck is full of creatures that are right at home in the middle of a magical storm, an instance that can suddenly turn the tide of any battle. Calamax the Storm Sire is an elemental dinosaur and a conduit of incredible power. Attack. Use Calamax to copy your biggest spells, and watch as your commander grows to unstoppable proportions. Oh, I guess I should have read the other two. Cyrus, the Writhing Storm. Cyrus is a flying leviathan with a particular taste for humans, regularly raiding the nomadic airship city of Skysail for snacks. Skysail's soldiers work constantly on new ways to fight back, but no tactic works for long. Cyrus will not be denied, and invariably finds a new way to overcome each new barrier between it and its next meal. Halden, Avid Arcanist, and Paco, Arcane Retriever. The carefree bonder, Halden, and his canine monster friend, Paco, travel across Ikoria, searching out crystals with unusual properties. Paco is able to sniff out strange and powerful crystals for Halden to study and experiment with, and Halden makes sure he always has a special treat on hand for his devoted friend. That's cute. It's just a heartwarming tale about a man and his dog. And I don't think we need to read the rules, but I guess we can. Commander rules. Commander is a multiplayer format in which each player's deck is led by a legendary creature known as the deck's commander. Your commander sets the tone for the rest of your deck, determining its colors and key strategies. Leverage your commander's strengths with a specially crafted arsenal of creatures, artifacts, and other spells. This deck comes with 3 choices of commander, including a set of partners who can be both your commander, at the same time. To play commander, use these additional magic rules. Commander is a free-for-all constructed format for 2 or more players. Each player starts the game with 40 life. Each player chooses as their commander a legendary creature or a planeswalker with the ability to be a commander. Each commander starts the game in the command zone. Each deck must be 100 cards, including its commander. A commander's color identity determines which cards its owner can include in their deck. For partner commanders, use the combined color identity to determine the colors of the deck. A commander can be cast from the command zone by paying its mana cost and an additional 2 for each time it's been cast from the command zone. If a commander would leave the battlefield, its owner can put it into the command zone instead. They actually changed that rule, I think. It made it more complicated but more intuitive, from what I remember, if that makes sense. Each time a commander deals combat damage to a player, note it. A player dealt 21 or more combat damage by a single commander loses the game. Every commander is a freewheeling back-and-forth battle in which alliances are formed, friends are betrayed, and grudges are repaid with a vengeance. In the end, only one player will be left standing, until the next battle begins, of course. Cool. Let's carefully fold this up, put it aside, and start going through the rest of this stuff. We got a life counter, Ah, I see. It goes from 120 on one side, 21 to 40 on the other. Cool. Probably not very useful, but we got a blank card. Is it the same size as a normal card? Yeah. Wonder what that could be good for. And we got a bunch of cards. Oops. And that's it. So we already read through this card. Put it to the side. And let's crack open this guy. Ooh, this plastic just kind of shreds itself, huh? They smell kind of plasticky. I don't know why I smelled them. This isn't a surprise, so I'm just going to go through and take out all the basics. Let's look through those really quick. Looks like we got some forests. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 forests. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 islands. And 2 mountains. Okay. Let's begin going through all of the cards. I think I'm just going to pick up half of them and do it that way because it kind of hurts my hand to pick them all up. We're starting with a small version of Calamax the Stormsire. I'll flip them over, that way they're still more or less in order when I pick them back up. Xyrus, the Writhing Storm. Costs 2, a green, a blue, and a red. It's a 3/5 Snake Leviathan legendary creature with flying, and whenever an opponent draws a card except the first one they draw in each of their draw steps, create a 1/1 green snake creature token. Whenever Xyrus, the Writhing Storm, deals combat damage to a player, you and that player each draw that many cards. Halden, Avid Arcanist, 2 and a blue for a 1/4 human wizard legendary creature. Partner with Paco, Arcane Retriever. When this creature enters the battlefield, target player may put Paco into their hand from their library, then shuffle it. You may play non-creature cards from exile with fetch counters on them. If you exiled them, you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast those spells. And here's Paco, Arcane Retriever. 3, a red and a green for a 3/3 Elemental Hound legendary creature. Partner with Halden, Avid Arcanist. It has haste, and whenever Paco, Arcane Retriever attacks, exile the top card of each player's library. Put a fetch counter on each of them. Put a +1/+1 counter on Paco for each non-creature card exiled this way. We got a 1/1 green and red Goblin Warrior creature token. We got another one. Oh, forgot these are double-sided. So let's go through them once and we'll turn them around and go through them again. We got 2 4/4 green beast creature tokens. Looks like 4 3/3 green beast creature tokens. And 2 1/1 sapperling tokens. And on the back, we got 2 colorless treasure artifact tokens with tap, sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color. 4 1/1 green snake creature tokens. 2 1/1 bird illusion creature tokens with flying. And 2 2/2 blue drake creature tokens with flying. I'm going to separate those from the rest because they are not cards, they are tokens. Okay, I just adjusted the focus a little bit because it looked a little blurry. Alright, let's start going through these cards. We got Command Tower, land, tap to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. When defeat is near and guidance is scarce, all eyes look in one direction. Frontier Bivouac. It's a land. Frontier Bivouac enters the battlefield tapped. Tap to add a green, a blue, or a red. The most powerful dreams visit those who shelter in a dragon's skull. This is Chiano, who whispers twice. Gruul Turf. It's a land. Gruul Turf enters the battlefield tapped. When Gruul Turf enters the battlefield, return a land you control to its owner's hand. Tap to add a green and a red. Halimar Depths, land. Halimar Depths enters the battlefield tapped. When Halimar Depths enters the battlefield, look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put them back in any order. Tap to add a blue. Izzet Boilerworks. It's a land. Izzet Boilerworks enters the battlefield tapped. When Izzet Boilerworks enters the battlefield, return a land you control to its owner's hand. Tap to add a blue or and a red. Not an or, an and. Myriad Landscape. Land. When Myriad Landscape enters the battlefield, tapped. There's no when there, just tap to add a colorless, or pay 2 and tap, and sacrifice Myriad Landscape. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards that share a land type. Put them onto the battlefield tapped, and shuffle your library. Interesting. Share a land type. What does that mean? 2 basics, 2 non-basics, 2 forests. Ruptured Spire, land. Ruptured Spire enters the battlefield tapped. When Ruptured Spire enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless you pay 1. Tap to add 1 mana of any color. Simic Growth Chamber, land. Simic Growth Chamber enters the battlefield tapped. When Simic Growth Chamber enters the battlefield, return a land you control to its owner's hand. Tap to add a green and a blue. So used to saying or. Rugged Highlands, land. Rugged Highlands enters the battlefield tapped. When Rugged Highlands enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. Tap to add a green or a red. Swiftwater Cliffs, land. Swiftwater Cliffs enters the battlefield tapped. When Swiftwater Cliffs enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. Tap to add a blue or a red. Thornwood Falls, land. Thornwood Falls enters the battlefield tapped. When Thornwood Falls enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. Tap to add a green or a blue. Moving on to the fun cards. Decoy Gambit. 2 and a blue. For an instant, for each opponent, choose up to 1 target creature that player controls. Then, return that creature to its owner's hand unless its controller has you draw a card. We'll distract them. The rest of you get out of here, says Alex, Skysail Defender. Eon Frolicker. 2 and 2 blue. For a 5/5 elemental otter creature with flying, and when Eon Frolicker enters the battlefield, if you cast it, target opponent takes an extra turn after this one. Until your next turn, you and planeswalkers you control gain protection from that player. You and planeswalkers you control can't be targeted, dealt damage, or enchanted by anything controlled by that player. Nascent Metamorph. 1 and a blue for a 1/1 shapeshifter creature. Whenever nascent Metamorph attacks or blocks, target opponent reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature card. This guy, becomes a copy of that card until end of turn. Then that player puts all cards revealed this way on the bottom of their library in a random order. Deflecting SWAT. 2 and a red. Instant. If you control a commander, you may cast the spell without paying its mana cost. You may choose new targets for target spell or ability. Archmage attacks are little more than annoyances to Calamax. Yikes. Lava Brink Floodgates. 3 and a red. Artifact. Tap to add red. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player may put a doom counter on Lava Brink Floodgates or remove a doom counter from it. Then, if it has 3 or more doom counters on it, sacrifice Lava Brink Floodgates. When you do, it deals 6 damage to each creature. Well, that's kind of fun. Be nicer if it costed less. Though I guess you could say that about just about every card. Curious Herd. 3 and a green. Instant. Choose target opponent. You create X 3/3 green beast creature tokens, where X is the number of artifacts that player controls. If you don't break camp as... Did I even read the name of this card? Curious Herd. It's fine. If you don't break camp as you leave, you'll return to find it broken for you, says Gionold. Mission Naturalist. Maybe that's a F. Faunold? Neither of those are good names. Glade Muse. 2 and a green for a 2/4 beast creature. Whenever a player casts a spell, if it's not their turn, that player draws a card. Rage can be heard throughout the world, but wisdom comes at a whisper, says Riel the Everwise. Ravenous Gigantotherium. 5 and 2 blue for a 3/3 beast creature with Devour 3. As this enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice any number of creatures. This creature enters the battlefield with 3 times that many +1/+1 counters on it. When Ravenous Gigantotherium enters the battlefield, it deals X damage divided as you choose among up to X target creatures, where X is its power. Each of those creatures deals damage equal to its power to Ravenous Gigantotherium. That's kind of fun. Twinning Staff. Costs 3. It's an artifact. If you would copy a spell one or more times, instead copy it that many times plus an additional time. You may choose new targets for the additional copy. Pay 7 and tap to copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. Jace, Architect of Thought. 2 and 2 blue for a Jace legendary planeswalker that enters with 4 loyalty counters on it. His +1 ability is, until your next turn, whenever a creature an opponent controls attacks, it gets -1/-0 until end of turn. His -2 is reveal the top 3 cards of your library. An opponent separates those cards into 2 piles. Put 1 pile into your hand and the other on the bottom of your library in any order. And his -8. For each player, search that player's library for a non-land card and exile it. Then, that player shuffles their library. You may cast those cards without paying their mana costs. Whoa. Lunar Mystic. 2 and 2 blue for a 2/2 human wizard creature. Whenever you cast an instant spell, you may pay 1. If you do, draw a card. I'm pleased this world has learned the moon affects more than the tides, says Tamio, the moon sage. Niblis of Frost. 2 and 2 blue for a 3/3 spirit creature with flying and prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, tap target creature and opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Swarm Intelligence. 6 and a blue for an enchantment that says, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. The Locust God's children were numberless, relentlessly eating away at every trace of the city's protection. Talrand, Sky Summoner. 2 and 2 blue for a 2/2 merfolk wizard legendary creature. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 2/2 blue drake creature token with flying. The seas are vast, but the skies are even more so. Why be content with one kingdom when I can rule them both? Chaos Warp. 2 and a red for an instant. The owner of target permanent shuffles it into their library, then reveals the top card of their library. If it's a permanent card, put it onto the battlefield. Charmbreaker Devils. 5 and a red for a 4/4 devil creature. At the beginning of your upkeep, return an instant or sorcery card at random from your graveyard to your hand. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Charmbreaker Devils gets +4/+0 until end of turn. That sounds like a fun card. Comet Storm. X and red. Instant with multi-kicker 1. You may pay an additional 1 any number of times as you cast this spell. Choose any target, then choose another target for each time this spell was kicked. Comet Storm deals X damage to each of them. Commune with Lava. X and 2 red for an instant. Exile the top X cards of your library until end of turn. Your next card. Until end of your next turn, you may play those cards. Atarka conquered Kadat, the Fire Rim, long ago, winning over its Ifrit with a promise to spread the glory of fire to all the world. Dualcaster Mage, 1 and 2 red for a 2/2 human wizard creature with flash, and when Dualcaster Mage enters the battlefield, copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. It has been my experience that disasters like to strike in pairs. Itali Primal Storm costs 4 and 2 red for a 6/6 Elder Dinosaur legendary creature. Whenever Itali Primal Storm attacks, exile the top card of each player's library. Then you may cast any number of non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana costs. The storm rages and the earth breaks. Whoa. Goblin Dark Dwellers, 3 and 2 red for a 4/4 goblin creature with menace, and when Goblin Dark Dwellers enters the battlefield, you may cast target instant or sorcery card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that card would be put into your graveyard this turn, exile it instead. Starstorm, X and 2 red. It's an instant with Starstorm deals X damage to each creature. Pretty simple. Cycling 3. Pay 3, discard this card, draw a card. Ever since the disaster, the city's survivors viewed the star-strewn sky with dread. Strength of the Tajuru, X and 2 green, instant. With multi-kicker 1, you may pay an additional 1 any number of times as you cast the spell. Choose target creature, then choose another target creature for each time the spell was kicked. Put X +1/+1 counters on each of them. Artifact Mutation costs a red and a green. For an instant, destroy target artifact. It can't be regenerated. Create X 1/1 green sapling creature tokens, where X is the artifact's converted mana cost. Whoa. From shards and splinters I call forth my living horde, says Molimo, Maro Sorcerer. Jin Illuminatus, 5 and 2 blue-red hybrids. It's a 3/5 Jin creature with flying, and each instant and sorcery spell you cast has replicate. The replicate cost is equal to its mana cost. When you cast it, copy it for each time you paid its replicate cost. You may choose new targets for the copies. That's interesting. Melik Izzet Paragon, 4 blue and a red for a 2/4 weird wizard legendary creature. Play with the top card of your library revealed. You may cast instant and sorcery spells from the top of your library. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your library, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. Prophetic Bolt, 3 a blue and a red for an instant. Prophetic Bolt deals 4 damage to any target. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. Put one of those cards into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Rush Me, Eternity's Crafter, 2 a green and a blue for a 2/3 elf druid legendary creature. Whenever you cast your first spell each turn, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a non-land card with converted mana cost less than that spell's, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. If you do, don't cast the revealed card, or if you don't cast the revealed card, put it into your hand. I played against a guy who had this deck, and comboed off very, very, I'm going to say fun-like, even though that's totally a real word. Wart, the Raid Mother. 4 and 2 red-green hybrid for a 3/3 Goblin Shaman legendary creature. When Wart, the Raid Mother, enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 red and green Goblin Warrior creature tokens. Each red or green instant or sorcery spell you cast has Conspire. As you cast the spell, you may tap 2 untapped creatures you control that share a color with it. When you do, copy it, and you may choose new targets for the copy. Interesting. Solemn Simulacrum. It's a 2/2 Golem artifact creature. When Solemn Simulacrum enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. When Solemn Simulacrum dies, you may draw a card. Cinderglade. It is a mountain forest land. Tap to add a green or a red. Cinderglade enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands. On the volcanic continent of Akum, bizarre vegetation clusters around gas vents, and jagged mountain peaks rise high into the air. Desolate Lighthouse. It's a land. Tap to add a colorless. Pay 1 a blue and a red to tap to draw a card, then discard a card. A lonely sentinel facing gales, hurricanes, and tides of homicidal spirits. Exotic Orchard. Land. Tap to add 1 mana of any color that a land an opponent controls could produce. It was a strange morning. When we awoke, we found our trees transformed. We didn't know whether to water them or polish them. Oh, is that because they're metal? This is Pulun Bant Orchardist. Kessig Wolfrun. Land. Tap to add a colorless. Pay X, a red and a green, and tap. Target creature gets +X/+0 and gains trample until end of turn. When a werewolf changes for the first time, that first howl is said to echo through the wilds till moonset. Mossfire Valley. Land. Pay 1 and tap to add a red and a green. Lush growth spreads like ferocious blaze across the Otarian hillsides. Mosswort Bridge. Land. Hideaway. This land enters the battlefield tapped. When it does, look at the top 4 cards of your library. Exile 1 face down, then put the rest on the bottom of your library. Tap to add a green. Pay green and a tap. You may play the exiled card without paying its mana cost if creatures you control have total power 10 or greater. Cool. Oran Reef, the Vastwood. Land. Oran Reef, the Vastwood enters the battlefield tapped. Tap to add a green. Tap to put a +1/+1 counter on each green creature that entered the battlefield this turn. Ooh, that would be fun with the sapperling thing. Thing that makes you a bunch of sapperlings. Scavenger Grounds. Desert Land. Tap to add a colorless. Pay 2 and tap and sacrifice a desert. Exile all cards from all graveyards. This is the land. Dormod's Crypt, isn't it? I guess it's all cards. When the last scrap of flesh is scoured away, the curse of wandering ends, then the dead may sleep. Yavimaya Coast. Land. Tap to add a colorless, or tap to add a green or blue, and Yavimaya Coast deals 1 damage to you. Ooh, we've got some more basics. 3 mountains. Bonder's Ornament costs 3. It's an artifact, and tap to add 1 mana of any color, or pay 4 and tap, and each player who controls a permanent named Bonder's Ornament draws a card. Found families deserve a family crest too, says Kinnan, Bonder Prodigy. Arcane Signet costs 2. It's an artifact. Tap to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Commander's Sphere costs 3. It's an artifact. Tap to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Sacrifice Commander's Sphere, draw a card. It harmonizes with the essence of its master. Lightning Greaves costs 2. It's an equipment artifact. Equipped creature has haste and shroud. It can't be the target of spells or abilities. Equip for 0. After lightning struck the cliffs, the ore became iron, the iron became steel, and the steel became greaves. The lightning never really left. Soul Ring costs 1. It's an artifact. Tap to add 2 colorless. Lost to Time is the artificer's art of trapping light from a distant star in a ring of purest gold. Clash of Titans. 3 and 2 red. Instant. Target creature fights another target creature. Each deals damage equal to its power to the other. Let the brutes fight. If they kill each other, we lose no more soldiers today, says Orthian, Lavabrink Captain. Channeled Force. 2, a blue and a red for an instant. As an additional cost to cast a spell, discard X cards. Target player draws X cards. Channeled Force deals X damage to up to 1 target creature or planeswalker. Few monsters have challenged Narset after they sensed her power. Primal Empathy. 1, a green and a blue. Enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card if you control a creature with the greatest power among creatures on the battlefield. Otherwise, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control. From this day forward, we confront this world together, lifting each other up. Psychic Impetus. 2 and a blue, aura enchantment. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and is goaded. It attacks each combat if able, and attacks a player other than you if able. Whenever enchanted creature attacks, you scry 2. Shiny Impetus. 2 and a red, aura enchantment. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and is goaded. It attacks each combat if able, and attacks a player other than you if able. Whenever enchanted creature attacks, you create a treasure token. It's an artifact with tap, sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color. Predatory Impetus. 4 and a green, aura enchantment. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3, must be blocked if able, and is goaded. It attacks each combat if able, and attacks a player other than you if able. Chemist's Insight. 3 and a blue, instant. Draw 2 cards, and it has a Jumpstart. You may cast this card from your graveyard by discarding a card in addition to paying its other costs. Then exile this card. My specialty is theoretical universal limits and ways to circumvent them. Frantic search. 2 and a blue for an instant. Draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. Untap up to 3 lands. It took the banning of temporal manipulation at Talaria West to teach its students the value of time. Murmuring Mystic. 3 and a blue for a 1/5 human wizard creature. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 blue bird illusion creature token with flying. Rumors float through the city like crows alighting on citizens, seemingly at random. It's interesting. Whiplash Trap. 3 and 2 blue for a trap instant. If an opponent had 2 or more creatures enter the battlefield under their control this turn, you may pay blue rather than pay the spell's mana cost. Return 2 target creatures to their owner's hands. Ooh, that's fun. Oh man, and if you cast that with Calamax, you get to return 4 creatures. Surreal Memoir. 3 and a red sorcery. Return an instant card at random from your graveyard to your hand, and it has a rebound. If you cast the spell from your hand, exile it as it resolves. At the beginning of your next upkeep, you may cast this card from exile without paying its mana cost. Crop Rotation. Costs a green. It's an instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a land. Search your library for a land card. Put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Zendikar's elves have developed innovative methods to mitigate the effects of the royal. Evolution Charm. 1 and a green for an instant. Choose 1. Search your library for a basic land card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Oh, that was an or. You can either search or return, or target creature gains flying until end of turn. Harrow. 2 and a green, instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a land. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. No spot in nature is truly barren. Hunter's Insight. 2 and a green for an instant. Choose target creature you control. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker this turn, draw that many cards. The Predator knows the true way of the world. Life is conflict. Only the strong survive, says Garrick Wildspeaker. Hunting Pack. 5 and 2 green for an instant with create a 4/4 green beast creature token, and it has Storm. When you cast this spell, copy it for each spell cast before it this turn. Natural Connection. 2 and a green, instant. Search your library for a basic land card. Put it onto the battlefield, tapped, then shuffle your library. Zendikar will not surrender, and neither can we. Slice in Twain. 2 and 2 green, instant. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Draw a card. The magic of the River Heralds is so great that even a single shaman can fend off a pirate landing party. Tribute to the Wild. 1 and a green for an instant. Each opponent sacrifices an artifact or enchantment. You may enter, but leave those lifeless things of your world behind, says Modruni, Maro Sorcerer. Wilderness Reclamation, 3 and a green for an enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, untap all lands you control. Walls crack, buildings fall, always the wilds return, says Domri Raid. Crackling Drake costs 2 blue and 2 red for a star 4 Drake creature with flying. Crackling Drake's power is equal to the total number of instant and sorcery cards you own in exile and in your graveyard. When Crackling Drake enters the battlefield, draw a card. Growth Spiral costs a green and a blue. It's an instant. Draw a card. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Cyclical and spiral patterns are the specialty of the Gyre Clade, which seeks to revitalize the cycles of nature. Temur or Timur Charm costs a green, a blue, and a red for an instant. Choose one. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn. It fights target creature you don't control. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. Or, creatures with power 3 or less can't block this turn. And our last card is an ad. Well, how about that? This seems like a fun deck, and I think I will keep it mostly the same and just swap out a few things. So yeah, maybe I'll do an upgraded version of this in the future. Thanks for watching.